All right, what's up, everyone? Thanks for waiting. I just typed it into chat, but I got backlogged because this cafe was, they had a huge backlog of orders, and now I'm here. I'm back at home, and I'm gonna start with a sip of coffee because I've not had my morning coffee yet. Okay, am I ready to start my day? All right, maybe now. All right, so everyone, welcome to the stream, the Q&A stream for the night before the December SAT. It is, what time is it in the States right now? It is 5 p.m. in LA, 8 p.m. in New York, and you guys have the SAT coming up in about 12-ish hours, depending on where you are in the world. It is 10 a.m. in Korea, so that means we have some students already solving it right now at this moment, and you guys must be feeling, well, a lot of different feelings, maybe a bit of nerves, maybe a little bit of excitement. If you have any questions for me today, I'm just going to make myself available to answer anything that's on your mind. So I just want to quickly start with a question for you guys. If you are here, first of all, just say hi. Let me know you're here. Say hi in chat. Zach, what's up? And to answer your question really quickly, yes, I have been to Korea. In fact, I am currently in Korea at this very moment. So yes, I think that counts as I've been to Korea. Q&A. Let me post my question for you guys. Targets are last we score. Okay, so now you can see my question over here. And I'm still setting up just a little bit. Okay, so Muslama, welcome. Good to see you in the stream. I just realized because I was in a rush due to the cafe having a massive backlog of orders, I forgot to post the stream into our Discord channel, so I'm going to do that really quickly right now. Really quickly. Let me just put that out of the way. What's this? US stream for December SAT. US stream going live now. All right. So here we are. Are we winning the SAT tomorrow? Are we? I think that's the question. If it's my choice whether you guys win the SAT tomorrow, then obviously my choice is yes, you guys all win. All right. Target. So Musalam. Zach is asking if I will ever do LSAT reviews. That was actually originally the plan. But so my plan was to expand to LSAT by around maybe next year. But right now, long story short, the course for the SAT still needs a lot of work. And because I want to make upgrades to aim at lower scoring students, like 550, 650 scoring students. So I need to add a lot more content for more intermediate level students. And second, we're developing an app, and this app is taking a lot of time. So it's time and resources and energy, and it's fun. I'm like thinking about how to replace myself as a tutor through software without using AI, because AI, I think, it tends to get overused, and then it just becomes like it feels like you're doing thinking when you're reading AI explanations, but you're not really thinking. You're just sort of you're just going for the path of least resistance. So my app is actually kind of increases resistance. It makes you think more. It's more painful than I think the AI apps that are out there. So I'm pretty happy about, and it's kind of the way I tutor. So it's going to take a while to actually deploy that. But yeah, LSAT is pushed a little bit further into the future now. Again, if you're just getting here, let me know. What is your target reading score and what is your last reading score? So over here, Asenka Lapenka or Muslama, you're saying your target is 720, 730. Your last score, okay, so you have no score from the last one, but it seems like if you got, 3 mistakes and 6 mistakes, then you're like hitting 7, 10-ish, plus or minus 10. Okay, so that means you're very close. You're very close to the real thing. You're very close to your target scores. So the only annoying thing is that you're not above your target score. Usually when you're going into a real test, you want to take your recent practice scores and knock down 10 points off of it, because you might actually not perform as well. And I think what that does is reduces the anxiety. So if I quickly say a comment to Asenka, but also to all of you guys, then I would say, take your last practice test score. So let's say you're hoping for a 730, okay? And you believe that you can get a 730, all right? But your last practice test score was a 700, okay? Just to simplify it. I think in that case, it is kind of better to imagine the test as actually having 2 stages, okay? The first stage is for you to just hit your last practice test score, which is 700. Okay, so then if you, so what does a 700 look like in module 1? A 700 looks like, getting 25 out of 27 correct on module 1. Now, what does a 700 look like in module 2? 700 module 2 looks kind of like, if we round up a little to give it a little bit more leg room, we can say 20 out of 27. But realistically, it's a little bit more like 18 out of 27. Okay, so you want to get 25 out of 27 and 18 out of 27 as your first stage, okay, in the real SAT tomorrow, okay? And what that means is you're actually deprioritizing some of the harder questions, because what you want to do is just you want to really just solidify your answers to 25 out of 27 in module 1 and solidify your answers to 18 out of 27 in the, module 2. But you'll realize in module 1, to really have a solid answer for for 25 questions, you'll probably still end up having it depends on you. For me, I think I'll have like 10 minutes left. For you guys, there's a lot of students out there that literally will have 10 minutes left after module 1, trying to get the 25 out of 27. Okay, and then with the 10 minutes remaining, what are you doing? Well, now you're kind of aiming up, okay, from 25 out of 27 to 26 out of 27. And you're just really trying to get that 26 out of 27 with that last 10 minutes. And then probably won't take you 10 10 minutes to get 26 out of 27, right? And then there's one last question. That one last question might actually be over your head. So it doesn't really matter if you spend 5 minutes on it, 8 minutes on it, 12 minutes on it, 20 minutes on it, you're still not going to get it right. That one you're going to have to sort of sacrifice, right? So that is module 1. Going back to module 2, again, stage 1. Stage 1 is you're just trying to get that 18 out of 27 because that's going to get you approximately your 700 out of 800. But then once you have your 18 that you're very happy with, you can defend all parts, like every word in the answer choice seems correct to you, it makes sense to you, you're sure that it's right, then what's your goal after that? Well, your goal is not suddenly get a 730 because you can't just artificially generate a 730 out of nothing. Instead, what you're doing is you're trying to take that 18 out of 27 that you're highly confident on and make that 19 out of 27 with the extra time that you have. So maybe for a lot of you guys to get 18 out of 27 confidently under your belt, as long as you're moving on quickly from the really hard questions, you actually should have 5 minutes or more left after module 2. Actually, if you don't have 5 minutes left, it means you are not you were very distracted. It means you were trying to skip to stage 2 before even finishing stage 1, right? So with stage 1, you're just trying to get 18 out of 27. Probably you should have 5 minutes or more left. Then with those 5 minutes left, what are you trying to do now? You're trying to get 19 out of 27. You just, out of the remaining 9 questions or so, you're just trying to figure out which one feels like if you just put a little bit more elbow grease into it, you can really get a confident answer. And, out of those 9 questions, like 1 or 2 of them should feel relatively achievable. So you go back, you reread the passage, you repredict, you rematch, and then you're like, oh, I totally get it now, even though I didn't get it 15 minutes ago, right? So then now you got your 19 out of 27. Hey, and that only took you 1 minute maybe. So you have 4 minutes left. What do you do with the remaining 4 minutes? Well, you have 8 questions left, so does that mean you spend 30 seconds per question just like fucking zooming around, randomly changing answers? No, don't do that. You have 8 minutes left. Now your goal is to get a 20 out of 27. And so you're with those 8 minutes left, did I say 8 minutes? With the 4 minutes left out of those 8 questions, you choose the next easiest achievable question and you put some elbow grease into it, and lo and behold, that one was kind of obvious. You actually did a quick fix or you quickly confirmed that your original answer was correct. That now counts as a 20 out of 27. And maybe that only took you 20 seconds to confirm. So now you have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. And you keep doing this until you're hitting like 21 out of 27 and 22 out of 27. And then maybe after that point, you have to tap out because the remaining 5 questions are just way beyond your level. But now, if you do it this way, right, you've sacrificed 1 question in module 1, and you've sacrificed 5 questions in module 2, and what score is that going to lead to? I mean, that's going to lead to 730. The mentality is it's like those like FromSoft video games or like many video games nowadays where when you like defeat a boss, it like respawns into like a second form of the boss. Like that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to kill the boss in stage 1 first, which is your sort of low, like kind of your low realistic goal. And then after you do that, you'll realize you have extra time left. So then you go back and then now you try to kill the second stage boss, right? And that's just you like winning 1 point back at a time. And if you just have that mentality, you'll be so much smarter with your decisions on where to spend your time. Like you're not going to waste all your time on the hard question like, I don't know, it's pretty random, right? Sometimes it's like literally questions 2 and 8 and 9 and 13 and 14, right? Like instead of wasting all your time on those hardest questions, you should, you're going to, if you have this mentality of stage 1 and then stage 2, you'll be able to get more of the easier and moderate and moderately hard questions all correct, and that will accurately represent your intellectual ability, which is 730. Coffee break. Let's zoom. So going back down to Asenka / other people who were sharing their scores, your last scores were not as high as your real test scores, or sorry, your target test scores. Your last scores were not as high as your target test scores, and I think that might make you panic. But even though your last scores are not as high as your target scores, what you can do is you can use that last score as a sort of initial benchmark for the first stage of the test. Okay, and I think that will help you to just calm the nerves down and gain more control over the test. Now let me look. There's a bunch of chat that I wasn't able to catch up on, so I'm gonna just see. I'm just gonna do a quick scroll to see if there's anything that stands out. Is it possible to go from 580 to 650 in 3 hours, as in like tonight? I mean, it's possible, but it's very unlikely. But it is possible. It's just there's certain conditions behind that. Like you have to already be quite smart, as in your brain already has to be a 650 level, so to speak. Like you're already like a, for 650, I would say you're already like a B plus in like the sort of like English and like language and maybe social sciences and like and you're also B plus in sciences actually, because the SAT reading writing requires a decent backbone in science. So you're already a B plus or higher level student in a relatively competitive high school, and you're just shit at the test. And so if you just like if you shape up your test taking ability, then yeah, you might jump from 580 to 650, because 650 is your actual intellectual level and 580 is your test taking level, and you're just shit at the test. All right. But flip that around. Like you might have 650 test taking level, but you have 580 intellectual level, then dude, you're stuck at 580. You're not going to go any higher because it's hard. You have to know grammar, you have to know vocabulary, you have to be able to identify when it says something like blah 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 blah, they gave some like eyedroppers with like cocaine into the to the mice, blah 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 blah, treatment, blah 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 blah, control, blah 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 blah, experimental group. And then you have to remember that experimental group is the cocaine group. And I think there's like, what of you? There's like 10ish of you right now watching. Like I'm sure 7 out of 10 of you, maybe 6 out of 10 of you were able to think blah, 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 treatment, blah, 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 control, blah, 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 experimental group. And then 6 out of 10 of you probably thought, oh, experimental group, Saul is talking about the cocaine eyedropper mice. But 4 out of 10 of you aren't. And what are you going to do? Like, is that like a test taking skill? It's not. Are you going to like process of eliminate your way from A, B, C, D to figure out which group we're talking about? No. It just means your reading is fucked. Like you're not. There's no way you're going to get out of that hole. So you do need a certain level of intellect. Like you do need some background knowledge in like science and history and social science and all that stuff to actually get you across this thing. So do not, like, I know the YouTube world and like the sort of test taking world like kind of likes to emphasize how, I don't know, the SAT is just gameable, but yes ish. Like it's gameable if you already know stuff, but it's not gameable if you don't know the stuff. So again, is it possible? Yes, you can go to a 650. Is it likely? Can you really change your test taking habits in like 3 hours? Maybe. Maybe you can change your test taking habits in 3 hours, and maybe you already have the background knowledge and you already have the vocab and all that stuff. But right now, if you're 580, I strongly encourage you to focus more on getting that 580 first on the real test. Okay, 580 on the real test. Okay, that's like what? Give me a sec. Let me process how many questions wrong you can get. So that's like maybe like 8 questions wrong in module 1 and 14 or more questions wrong in module 2 if you get the hard module, because 580 is sort of boundary. And so, and then if you don't get the hard module, then you need to basically get a perfect score in, or close to a perfect score in module 2. And so you really need to, you actually really need to get, like, the goal is actually module 1. If you're trying to get a 580, you really need to kill it on module 1 first. So you want to get maybe 8 questions wrong in module 1, something like that. So really prioritize getting 19 questions, the achievable 19 questions in module 1. That's really important. Okay, like there's gonna be 8 questions there that's like way beyond you, and you're like not understanding it. It's like, what the hell? Just like skip them. Just read it, and then if you don't really get it, then do some cross elimination. Do some like synonym matching bullshit, and then just eliminate and move on. Because don't waste too much. Don't waste like 4 minutes on those questions. It's just a waste of time. So if it's beyond your level, don't try to kill it, right? In FromSoft games, actually, just to continue with that metaphor, sometimes they'll like throw out these like. In Elden Ring, at the very first, when you go into Limgrave, this like the first sort of map, it like opens up to you. It's this like beautiful green, lush landscape, and then right at the foreground, there's this massive knight on horseback, and if you try to attack it at like a level 1, like wretch, like this little thing, like you have no armor, you have like this like wooden sword, you have like a club, and you try to attack this knight, you're gonna die immediately. Okay, there are some questions on the SAT that are like this massive knight, and you are just a wretch. Do not attack. Okay, if you do attack it and escape. But don't waste time trying to fight it out. Okay, let's go back to Zach is saying, is this my main occupation? YouTube is not my main occupation, but I'm in a sort of transition period in my life, and I'm actually kind of. I had a good conversation with one of my friends. He's a developer who is building out a company with his partner, and I just had a good conversation with him like yesterday actually, and long story short, I want to make a transition. I want to make a transition to simplifying my life and really focusing on my online course and my online presence. What that means is I have to stop tutoring and I have to stop doing group classes because those take a lot of time and a lot of energy. And I don't know if actually Muslama, who is in this stream maybe still, will know. I'm like really analyzing everything that you're doing, and it's intense for you, the tutor. It's intense for you, the tutee, but it's also intense for me, the tutor. And it's really intense even before and after. I'm like, making sure that I'm writing my feedback reports, and sometimes I'm dealing with calls from parents, and it just takes a lot of energy out of me. So I am thinking of simplifying my life and just focusing on my online presence so that I can really just build the courses that I've been wanting to build. But it just keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. So yeah. I'm going to sort that out before the new year. So by January, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But this December right now, I'm just sort of in digital / work environment hygiene mode where I'm just cleaning out the house. And we'll see what happens by January. Let's see. You matched to a T10. Cancel December. Well, I don't know. You wrote this like a while back, but hey, congrats on matching T10. Now I'm gonna have to skip a bunch of messages because it's just like I'm like way too far behind. So let me just catch up on more recent messages. Here you go. Soham, what's up? Chatankar is saying if there's ICDC, then it's just a comma. Okay. I think that's. Don't. Oh, it's responding to Kaushik. Okay. Yes, you use a comma before and for separating, for starting a new independent clause. Although the independent clause, by the way, can be delayed, right? You can have comma and then you can have a dependent clause and then an independent clause, right? It doesn't have to come out right away. But if there's going to be another independent clause later on, then yes, you use a comma before the and. You also use the comma before the and in the Oxford comma for lists. Okay, it's the third item in a list, third or more item in a list. Okay, you don't put a comma before and if it is just a 2-item list. But remember, list doesn't have to be just like lists of nouns, right? These can be like lists, quote unquote, in parallel structure of verbs. So I could be like, I investigated, comma, hang on, gathering sources from as many primary sources as possible, comma, how the Trump administration has managed to cover up the Jeffrey Epstein files, files that are so ruffling the feathers of the Republican Party and found that there was just a naked man in a corner that was tarred and feathered. Period. That and like you have the way to figure out whether you need that comma before that and is just to figure out like what is after the and. Like if it's a new independent clause after the and, then you put a comma. But if that and is just another verb, then the coordination is between I investigated ... and found ... right? I investigated and found. And if that's the case, then you don't have a comma before that. That's the simple explanation, relatively. Well, it's like the less simple than YouTube, but more simple than the full reality version. Okay. All right. So that is my quick answer. We have KRKN. Saul, is what possible? I mean, again, KRKN, I'm saying kind of the same thing. 690 to 750 is possible. Now, the difference is that now, compared to the previous student who was saying something like 580 to 650, you're talking about 690 to 750 across about, what, like 1.5 months? Depends on when you took it. Like you might have taken it in the middle of October, maybe in the beginning or maybe at the end. So is it possible? Yeah, but 750 means you have to get some really hard questions correct. Like 750 is not chump change. Like you need to really pay some money down on some of those hard questions. So the question is, if I gave you unlimited time to solve the test, are you able to get 770 with unlimited time? Because if you're not able to get 770 with unlimited time, then you are not intellectually capable of getting a 750 in time pressure, like under time pressure, right? So you need to be able to get a 7. You need to be able to get those hard questions, right? If you want a 750. So only you really know the answer. Go and solve a test with unlimited time and see how, see if you get 20 points above your target score. I do have an explanation, new user, for why I think going straight through is better than doing the grammar first. A lot of people talk about the grammar. To me, if you jump to question 16, go through 2017, if you jump through question 16, finish off to question 27, then go back through 1 through 15, then what are you doing? You're saving the hardest questions for last. And why is that bad? It's not bad, right? Because math is just the same way. Math is exactly the same way. You start with easier questions and it gets progressively harder over time. And it helps you to, what it does is it actually helps you to subconsciously sacrifice the harder questions, okay? But to me, it's kind of like playing, it's kind of like going bowling, but with the bumpers up, right? Like, why do you take the test in a way where you assume that you can't manage your own time? Especially for kids that I tutor for like an extended period, I teach them to, theoretically, I've never actually done this, but theoretically, if you take like a veteran student of mine, I could show them the questions in scrambled order. And because their kind of habits are sort of on like lockdown, like they know exactly what they're going to do, like for every question, what happens is at the end of a hard question, you'll find that they don't waste that much time on the hard question, just sort of like waffling, right? Just like, is it A? Is it C? Is it A? Is it C? Let me double check A. Let me double check C. They don't really do that. So when they don't do that, you know what happens? By the end of all 27 questions, they'll still have like 5 minutes left. So like, even if it's in like random, like if it's like randomly shuffled. And so, at least that's the idea. The idea is that when you take the test, you are able to just manage your time, right? And that's a useful skill to have, right? So why do you need to assume that you can't manage your time and then sort of put these bumpers up so that you are forced to sacrifice the hardest questions? Why are you doing it that way? That's one answer. The second answer, though, is there is actually a benefit that I find solving it from 1 through 27. I actually like the way it's organized because if we go from 1 through 27, it goes from moderately to, like, it goes from hard to very hard to then moderately easy to moderately hard, okay? And that is module 2, I mean, right? Hard to very hard, moderately easy to moderately hard, and then we finish it out. But if you're good at time management and you know not to waste too much time on hard questions, then what happens? Then you have 5 minutes left afterwards, okay? And if you have 5 minutes left afterwards, you know what's really nice? It's nice to go back to question 13 or 15 or 9 or whatever. But this time you actually had a break. Your brain could kind of focus on some of these other easier questions, like, you know, the grammar questions or whatever. And during that time, you're sort of just self-healing, you're sort of building your confidence again, and you're sort of forgetting the questions for a bit, right? And then like 8 minutes later, you're looking at question 13 again, and you're like, oh, I can see this with fresh eyes now. So then when you read the passage and when you read the question again, you're not biased anymore. You can, you have the benefit of having read the passage before, but you're not like emotionally caught up in that battle between A versus C versus A versus C because you had an 8-minute break in between. And you're not panicking either because you know you have 5 minutes left and whatever, right? Now everything is just bonus. So if that's the case, when you get that 8-minute break in between, you can look at question 13 more neutrally, more objectively, and you could increase the chance of you getting that answer correct. Whereas if you go from 16 to 27, 1 through 15, and then you magically have 2 minutes left over, and you go right back to question 13, seriously, like, you're still too tense. You're still too tense. You're not really, you didn't really get that break to sort of forget question 13 and to sort of rebuild your confidence, right? And so Philosophically, let me summarize my answer. Philosophically, I think every student should learn how not to be dependent on the sequencing of the questions, right? You should just be better at time management instead of just sort of relying on these tricks. But that's maybe too philosophical, right? So practically speaking, I really enjoy having a break from the hard questions by solving a couple, moderate, easy questions to moderate questions, right? Just getting those out of the way, taking like a walk in the park, basically, right? And then coming back to the hard questions for a second, for a retry. Input, output. Science passages. I mean, if you're bad at science passages, it might be because you're just bad at experiment design. So I don't really know your score, so it's hard for me to make a guess where you are. But let's say that you are scoring 680. Okay, I'm just gonna start that. I'm just gonna make that guess right now. You can fix me if I'm wrong. If you're scoring 680, some of those science passages are really hard, and the experiment design is actually quite complicated, and they have like these like little minor comments that feel unimportant, but actually they're like critical for the answer. And so a good science student is going to be one that when they're reading a science passage, they can simulate in their own minds what the experiment setup is. Okay? So they know what the experiment group, they know what the control group is, they know what the experiment group is, they know some of the limitations of the methodology, like if they controlled something or didn't control something or whatever. And then they look at the results of the experiment and they're like, oh, okay, that supports the hypothesis, or that doesn't support, that weakens the hypothesis, that negates the hypothesis, or whatever, or maybe it does neither, right? But they're able to hold all that stuff in their minds. And if you just can't hold all that stuff in your mind, then you're just better off just doing process elimination, ABCD, and moving on. Don't waste too much time because you've already probably spent a minute and 20 seconds like reading and rereading the passage. There's no point in rereading it a third time without solving all the other questions first. Okay, just finish all the other questions, because you just did not organize that experiment in your head clearly enough to have a realistic shot of getting this one right with high confidence. Okay, so just process eliminate, make a guess, move on. That's assuming you're 680. But give me a more specific question. I might be able to give you a more specific answer. When the question has known versus who are known, I mean, the big difference between known versus who are known. But by the way, if the sentence says something like a scientist, comma, a scientist blank for decoding the genome is now a video game streamer. A scientist blank for decoding the human genome is now a video game streamer, period, right? If that is like the question, then actually there is no difference between known and who are known, and that question should not even exist. So if you're using like a Princeton review or like a non-college board practice test, sometimes they kind of have these sort of like bullshit questions that aren't real questions on the SAT. So known versus who are known is not a common pattern in college board questions, because they're both correct. Okay, a scientist known for decoding the human genome is now a video game streamer is exactly the same as saying a scientist who is known for decoding the human genome is now a video game streamer. They're both perfectly accurate. The only difference is that one of them is a little, it used to be called redundancy, right? It's like, or concision, right? One of them is longer, but it's not wrong. And so the digital SAT doesn't test this anymore. The paper SAT kind of used to, but the digital SAT does not test this anymore, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, memes. Wait, people are deleting. I'm confused. All right, do I have any advice on improving past 750? Yeah, it is harder. Time management, maximize time. I mean, that's part of it, obviously. I think it depends on how familiar. So motivation boost. It depends on how familiar you are with my like approach. Like if you've ever watched me solve a test and you kind of know my names for things. If you know it, then my quick answer is my. I guess my quick answer is practice threading more, but don't prioritize all four questions that you struggle on. Just prioritize one or two of them to at least crack the 760 and 770 first, right? So practice threading, do it on the more like not the insanely hard question, but like the slightly less than insanely hard questions, right? Practice threading, and you'll finally realize why the correct answer has to be correct. And then if you can make that happen one time on a real test, that's already a massive success. If you can make it happen two times, that's like just wow. That's just like a complete breakthrough. But if you want to practice that, you'd have to have time to practice it, and you'd have to know what I'm talking about. So let's flip modes. Motivation. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about when I say threading. In that case, then I guess the very generic advice I can give that is sort of it still aligns with my philosophy, like with the way when I say philosophy, it's not just it's like the way I actually do it. So the way general advice that still will teach you the idea without really teaching the idea is first, when you're stuck on one of those questions and you can't nail the 50-50, okay? Just make a guess and move on, okay? Just go and solve all the other questions. Finish off stage one, okay? Okay, now you killed stage one, and you in module two, if you're a 750 student, in module two, you might have, especially if you moved on pretty aggressively, you might have 4 or 5 questions that you kind of bookmarked because you're not 100% sure of them, right? And you'll notice that like one of them is kind of just needs a double check, and you look at it and you'll realize that it's correct. But then one of them, it feels like not the hardest question in the world, but you still weren't sure, and you still want to rethink it. Okay, so go back to that question. When you go back to that question, the temptation is to go straight into answer choices, but really resist that. Do not go straight into answer choices. Okay. Instead, what I want you to do is maybe physically cover the answer choices, like with your hand, or maybe by zooming in. But read the passage slowly and just look for transitions. Okay, look for transitions in ideas, look for transitions in topic, look for transitions in logic. Just look for transitions. I don't mean look for transition words, because that's kind of like a dumb 8th grade level assignment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just actual transitions in the logic. And look for those transitions, and then don't look at the answer choices yet. Look at the question and try to predict an answer. Just like, you're not going to come up with a perfect prediction. It's fine, because this is a really hard question. But just have a rough idea of what the correct answer should say. Then you look at the answer choices again, and I think you'll be surprised. For like not the uber hard questions, but like just below that, like the hard, challenging questions that like require more than one try. Okay, you'll find surprisingly that just calming down, slowing down, rereading the passage, identifying transitions, and repredicting, that whole thing will like help you just like net 1 point extra. And that's huge. When you're 750, that 1 point extra will get you to 760. And if you've never hit that 760 before, this could be the difference. So yeah, that's kind of my more non-technical advice for that, even though that's actually still fairly technical. All right, so looks like do people still have more questions? I'm gonna switch over. Let me see if there's anyone chatting in Discord. Okay, all right, no. So I'm gonna switch over to Reddit. Nope. Here we go. If you do have questions, go ahead and post them into chat. Otherwise, I'm just gonna kill time for a little bit. It is 10:50 though, so I'm not going to 10:50 my time. So what is that? That's almost 9 p.m. in Eastern time. So I'm gonna wrap up very soon. If you've been sort of just shy and you've been just kind of scared to ask a question, I encourage you to shoot your question now. This is such an easy way to get upvotes. This person has to be a tutor. Okay, I'm finding there is no real useful. Okay, here we go. Business casual is appropriate. What the heck? Okay. All right, it looks like no one has questions, so I'm going to wrap up soon. Here we go. So let me wrap up. Quickly, during the break, I think it really just depends on your personality, but I do think just minimizing distractions. When you go to the restroom, there's especially if you're kind of a neurotic person, just stay away from people. Just be alone, okay? Be in your mind, and objectively reassess what you did well, and just remind yourself of what your goals were and whether you executed on it. Okay. That said, at the end of the day, whatever you do during the break, it's not really going to matter. It's not a big deal. Just go to the restroom, get some water. Don't drink too much water, and kind of move your body, right? So don't sweat it so much. I think the mentality tomorrow for you guys when you're going into the test is something I've been talking about basically since the beginning of the stream. First, you aim low, and then you control your recoil. Okay. First, if you're wanting to get a 730, okay, first you aim for that 700 that you are sure that you can get. On all the sort of 700 level questions or below, right? just get those out of the way. And then you sort of control your recoil for that headshot. Just like creep up from 700 to 710 to 720 to 730 by winning back one question at a time with your extra time. Okay? But Saul, I don't have extra time. Well, the reason you don't have extra time is because you're not aiming low. Like you're trying to get all 27 questions correct on the first shot, right? You're trying to get question, 8 right on the first shot. You're trying to get question 11 right on the first shot. You're trying to get question 12 right on the first shot. But they're overpowered. You're not able to get those questions right because they're like ranked 780 and 790 and 800. Like, why are you trying to get these? Why are you trying to get these questions when they're way above your goal anyway? So as long as you aim low, okay, and you just sort of let some of these harder questions just go by you, right? Then you can have extra time at the end of Module 2. And with that extra time, what do? You control your recoil. You aim for that 710 by hitting the next most achievable question that's left over, okay, from stage 1. Then the next one, and then the next one. And if you just do that, you can actually crawl your way up to your 730, okay? So don't get too greedy from the get-go, because if you get greedy from the get-go, what happens is that on Module 2, what's the worst case scenario? Questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 all have like an insane vocabulary, and then you panic, right? And if that happens, dude, you're done, right? And the only reason that's happening is because you're not aiming low. Because you're pressuring yourself. You're telling yourself, I have to get number 1 right. I have to get number 2 right. Oh shit, number 1, number 2, I guessed on both of them. I have to get number 3 right. Dude, if you keep pressuring yourself like that, you're actually gonna increase your panic. You're not gonna increase your control. Okay, so aim low and control your recoil. Good luck, everyone, with the December SAT tomorrow. Grammar tips. I feel like there's probably a bunch of YouTube videos on grammar tips, so go and brush up on your grammar tips. It'll only take you like 15 minutes to remind yourself of all the big grammar tips, but I gotta go. So good luck on the test tomorrow. I believe in you guys, okay? As long as you're not too greedy, as long as you stay cool, as long as you aim low, control your recoil, you'll do good, okay? Until next time, keep on learning, keep on growing, and let me know how it goes after the December SAT. If you're interested in staying connected, I am active in the Discord server, which you can find the link to down here, okay? And if you are prepping for the March SAT as well, I have an online course where I talk about how to identify transitions, how to thread the characters, how to make predictions, what do you do after your prediction, all these like little technical, like nitty gritty of like little micro decisions that you have to make while taking the test. I go into those micro decisions in detail in my course, so you can learn that for a $30 monthly subscription, which you can cancel at any time. If you're interested in that, that's also in the description down here. Okay. Until next time, keep on learning, keep on growing. I think I said that earlier. Peace.